Hello, and thank you for joining Conversations Under the Canopy. My name is Michelle Martin. I am the host of this morning's program and have been part of the Canopy team for almost 8 years. I work within the customer success management team, providing our clients proactive services and solutions for their teams. I'm also a certified international health coach and support Canopy's health and wellness initiatives, providing resources on topics such as whole body health, mindfulness, sleep hygiene, meditation, and more. This is our second year providing this series. If you're new to Conversations, it's a series of short sessions where we speak with Canopy and industry experts to help us learn about services and valuable insights in the world of employee well-being, engagement, and performance. This program is being recorded. We'll have time at the end of the program for questions, but feel free to type your questions in the chat box. After the presentation, we will follow up with a survey and presentation handout, and your feedback would be greatly appreciated. Our guest today is Brandon Laws. Brandon is the Vice President of Marketing and Product at Xenium HR. He is also the host of Transform Your Workplace, a podcast he started in 2012, which is now ranked the #1 HR podcast. As a thought leader, Brandon is active on social media and makes regular speaking engagements and appearances. He lives in Oregon with his wife and their children, along with 2 cats and a dog. In this conversation, Brandon will discuss the many benefits of AI in the workplace and your personal life. Welcome, Brandon.
Thanks, Michelle. It's really good to be here, and I love talking about technology. So thank you for all being here. I'm going to cover a couple different areas in this 15-minute conversation we have. And I'm going to keep it pretty high level. So if you do want to reach out to me, there'll be a contact page at the very end. You're welcome to reach out and we can geek out even further. But I'm going to cover 2 different areas. One is technology that can help streamline your everyday tasks, your personal life, work. I tinker a lot with technology, and I'm going to show you my tech stack. I'm not going to be able to get into everything, but I'm going to highlight a couple of huge areas that I think can save you and your colleagues a ton of time. And then everybody's talking about AI. I've been using it since it's really been out to the public, and I use it pretty much every day. It's in a lot of my tools. So I'm going to cover kind of high level best practices, how you can best use it to leverage your growth and efficiency.
Can you tell us what you may have struggled with and how you were able to sort of move past that and manage a bit
Yeah.
better?
So I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. Like, you start to see things bubble up, like your stress. You maybe say words like, "I'm feeling burned out." Maybe you're inefficient. You're feeling inefficient. Time management problems. You're missing deadlines and appointments. All of these are signs that something else is going on. For me personally, I have a lot on my plate, both at home and at work. And so I'm trying to buy back my time. And the way I was able to do that was recognizing the problems and then throwing technology and systems at it. So I'm going to get into that. And I actually have a framework that I like to use, and maybe you could adopt to something like this. But and yeah, there you go. So this is a framework I used. You could tweak it however you want, but a lot of times it's a self-awareness problem. So you need to recognize the challenges that you're experiencing. So if you're saying you're burned out, why are you burned out? Get to the root cause of that. And then once you can, a lot of times there's so much information, just whether it's at home, the personal life, the to-do list at home and at work. And how many times have you been laying in bed at night and you all of a sudden think about what you need to do tomorrow? You need to get that out. And I recognize that in myself. I needed to get it out on paper. There's a lot of really good apps that you could use that will allow you to get it out. Notes app on your phone. I use a Remarkable tablet for taking handwritten notes, and it syncs to the cloud so I can access it at any given time. I use Microsoft OneNote. You could use Google Docs, voice memos. Just get it out. And then once you do, try to develop some sort of system for retrieving that information. Whatever works for you. Folder structures, color-coded tags, whatever you need to do, but you need to be able to retrieve that information, but get it out of your head first. And then once you do that, and you have awareness around the problems, the information that's out there, find some technology that's going to work for you and streamline your activities and buy your time back. That's what it's all about.
Well, and these are great tools. So I'm curious what your top 2 or 3 are and why.
Yeah, so this is a list. We're not going to be able to get into all this, but you can see this is like pretty much my tech stack that I use on a day-to-day basis, and just some suggestions for you. So the top like three things that I've run across both in myself and colleagues, and just what I hear people having problems with, writing and editing is one of those things that we're all writing emails, we're all writing text messages, and how many times have you written an email, reread it, edited it, and then only to later send it and then find that you have an error in it somewhere? So I've done that so many times in my career, and now there's no excuses anymore. There's tools that help you get started and even edit your work. So what I do is use a combination of generative AI tools. If I need help like getting started with an email, I might prompt it with some bullet points about what my email needs to say. I might even dump in content that will help get the email started. And then on the back end, when I'm editing it, I use a tool called Grammarly, which there's a free version and a subscription version. I use a paid version, and it will catch like little dumb mistakes that we all make: comma here, comma there, repetitive language, plagiarism. Um, it will help with like synonyms and things like that. So there are just no excuses anymore around writing. It plugs into Outlook, plugs into Google Docs, Word, all these tools, and it's right at your fingertips. So writing and editing is one of those things that everybody is going to experience, that I highly recommend using tools around that. Knowledge management is one of those things, like I think on the personal side, you can have some sort of knowledge receptacle for all of your information, but in the corporate environment, this is the problem I solved. About a year ago, I implemented a tool called Guru, which is a cloud-based knowledge management platform. And what the problems that we were having before was like, we're trying to retrieve information in a lot of different ways. It's scattered across email, file explorer, somebody's brain. And so like that key employee problem where they're keeping knowledge inside their brain and it's not out somewhere, and so somebody has to go to that person and ask them a bunch of times. That's just not efficient. I used to have people ask me, what's can I get the high res Xenium logo, or what's the color? Now all that is in a what's called a Guru card. It's like basically an article or an FAQ of some sort where all that information is there and people can go search for it, and it's on demand in one location. So this has been a game changer for a lot of people. Now people aren't holding information in their brains or in different places anymore. It's in one system. And then I'm sure you can all relate to this. We have too many meetings, and in today's world where we have asynchronous tools that help us to communicate things, there's no excuses anymore. So how many times have you like scheduled a meeting to talk about maybe like walking through a technology or training with somebody, and you schedule a meeting for it and you schedule 30 minutes and you fill up 30 minutes? Well, nowadays, like you have a tool, one of my favorite ones is called Loom, and it's free up to a 5-minute video. You can record your screen, or you can just record a video yourself to communicate whatever you need to communicate. And then instantly, as soon as you get out of that video, it will generate a link that you can email and text and send to people, and you can add comments to it. And with the premium version that I have, there is some AI built into it where if it's a longer video, it'll actually do chapters and AI summaries. So humongous tool. And then you see the rest on the list, and Michelle, I'm sure you guys will send it out later. And I'm happy to talk to anybody about some of these other things as well.
Well, yeah, and let's just get into more of that AI. I've used Chat GPT and I love it, but I'm not familiar with the other resources you talked about. So why don't you tell us your experience with AI and how you've made it work for you?
Yeah, so I think this is like November 2022 that it was like ChatGPT 3.5 was like released to the world. And then they had, I think months later, they had a subscription version. I got the subscription version immediately, and then all these other tools started coming out too. So this list on the right-hand side, you got ChatGPT 4.0, that's the paid version. It's $20 a month. Claude 3.5, they're saying is like on par with ChatGPT 4.0. So, and then Gemini and Meta. So Gemini is Google's, Meta is Facebook Meta's AI. They're all like chat generative AI tools. So I highly recommend playing around with them and seeing which one works for you. They work well for different things, but I want to share with you just some best practices and what you can do. And I'm not even thinking of all the things that you could possibly do, but some best practices just getting started. is humanizing it. So, and that may sound counterintuitive because it's like, this is a technology. Why would you humanize it? But if you're trying to get the best output possible, you need to prompt it a certain way. And so if you act it, or if you ask it to act as so like I'm a vice president of marketing, right? So I might be writing some copy. So if I say, ChatGPT, act as a professional marketer who specializes in copywriting that writes very clever language, and then prompt it to do something very specific as a follow-up. There's also this term called markdown, and it's just a way of formatting your prompts. So like using the pound sign for headings and prompts and separate them by the pound sign. You can use lists and links and even images. So one of the things that I kind of blown somebody's mind the other day, they were handwriting notes. They forgot their computer, and they're like, okay, I'll email you the notes later once I type them up. I'm like, just check this out. So I had my phone with me, and I have the ChatGPT app, and this is part of the paid version. But I took a picture of her notes, and I asked, and I prompted to transcribe it to text, and it did it within 5 seconds. And then I'm able to just copy and paste that and save it wherever I needed to say it. So I've seen people like digitize handwritten notes over, like they have handwritten notes and then they're like trying to put it in and type it later. This saves you so much time. You could use it to learn something new. I've seen people making plans, like exercise plans, diet plans with it, and it helps you get started. You can ask it questions. I mean, I had an experience the other day that I thought was interesting, where I had a referral source that came in from like somebody inquiring about Zenium services, and the referral source said, um, it said Copilot, Microsoft Copilot. So somebody went into Microsoft Copilot, that's they're integrated with ChatGPT, and they had probably typed in like, what are the top human resource consulting companies in Oregon or something, and Zenium popped up in that, and that was how they inquired about us. So people are now using it to ask questions that they used to ask a search engine. And there's other things that you could do as well, like summarizing large quantities of information, outlines, charts, and spreadsheets. Now there's so many things that you can do with it. I'm still learning stuff daily, but I think you just need to get started with it. I mean, even pick up ChatGPT for Dummies or something, just to understand what it's capable of.
Just poke around, get started, just do something, right?
Yep.
This has been
Right.
great information, and you can learn more about Brandon from several social media platforms. I'm a huge fan of your podcast. You have such great
Thanks.
topics and guests, and it's so relevant and relatable. So again, we're going to send out this information. So you have lots of ways to reach out to Brandon. I do want to open it up to questions. I have a quick question while I'm looking at the chat. Uh, what is your opinion of AI evolution in the workplace? I've heard a lot of people have some fears,
Yeah.
but when we've talked, you have good news.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to foresee in the future. I've heard some like experts in this AI space saying like artificial general intelligence could be like 3 years away, or it could be like 2030, but it is coming at some point. Like they're saying AI tools are going to basically match what human capabilities are at, which where it's not now. Like it doesn't have the emotions, it doesn't have things that a human being can do. But what I would say to people that are on here is what I've learned is that the people who are adopting AI and using it as like an assistant in some ways, and leveraging it to get efficient and to come up with new ideas and just to make their work better, there's going to be a huge skills gap between people who are using it and people who aren't. And that's what I'm hearing across industries and just with business people who are really plugged in. They're saying that people are looking for skills, or people to have the AI skills and how to prompt it. So I would say like get started, like play around with it and try to develop those skills of using it, because I think it's going to be so ingrained in our work and our lives too. I mean, my kids are playing around with it. It's quite insane, like the tools that we have available to us.
Absolutely. Someone put in the chat they're super excited to try Guru because knowledge management, huge pain point. I can't even imagine in the HR realm how much of a pain point that is.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
an anecdotal point. Like this was a tool that I implemented for Zenium in partnership with somebody on my team as well, and game changer. I promise you. And it's not that expensive either. It's like a per head per month fee. It's well worth it. I promise you.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Brandon. I want to be cognizant of everybody's time, but it has been really fun working with you on this presentation, and I have learned a lot. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope you'll be able to join our next conversation on the topic of suicide awareness and prevention. It is a workplace conversation. So stay tuned for an e-blast or information in our newsletter, or you can follow us on LinkedIn to get updates on this program and additional behavioral health information. So until next time, take care, everyone, and thank you so much.